Kids out there, you don't need a shrink. Your parents do. If your parents know how to write, look, as a parent, and you'll be the first one to say it, nothing prepares you for it.
Right.
You can read as many books as you want, nothing really prepares you for it because you're not,
you better learn
you as
how
a
to
parent are
trust
not a
your
machine,
gut.
and there are people and your kids aren't not machines.
You better learn how to trust your gut.
But with that being said, if you're having problems, don't send your kid to the shrink. That's lazy.
Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, founder of Be Better Media and a mom of 4, passionate about human connection. Throughout my journey, I have experienced many What I Meant to Say moments, but since life doesn't give us do-overs, I've created a space to reflect and tell our stories again with a little more grace for ourselves and the hope that we can help others and be better for having listened. Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I am here today with Jason Dibelius, host of the Option podcast, one of my greatest friends, and the guy who kind of got me started in all this. So I am so excited for this one because we're just going to go freestyle with Jason's quality research, and we have a lot to cover today. So
There's
let's
something
go.
I'd like to get off my chest before we talk about some interesting stuff that's within your wheelhouse, because your job is to make better human beings. My job, my podcast, we're just there to talk junk.
You talk about all kinds of great stuff.
And of course, good stuff is the residue of just me, shooting the stuff. But and I promised I wasn't going to talk about volleyball in my wheelhouse, but I don't.
I want to talk about volleyball.
But there's a guy named George Santos, who Long Island rep that won his district.
Yeah, he can't.
That won his district and became this rep. And everybody's like, wow, this guy seems too good to be true. Like, you look at his resume or whatever and this and that. But it turns out it's made national headlines. Like, as a New Yorker, I already knew it for all the reasons. And usually I don't care if a politician lied. It's like, who cares, right? So here's a laundry list, right? He lied about where he went to school. Said he was attended certain universities, which includes Baruch College, which we're going to get into. Lied about where he worked. Said he worked at Goldman Sachs, but didn't want to do that. Said he was turned down Citicorp. Turns out that never happened. He lied about owning rental properties. He lied about being robbed of his rent money. He lied about being Jewish, which in New York is a taboo. That's a deal breaker. And he says, I didn't mean Jewish, I meant Jewish. And of course,
semantics.
Jewish. I mean, and that's dangerous, right? Because you can't even criticize Israel, which is not like a religion. You can't even, can't even criticize that without being called anti-Semitic. This dude crossed the line.
Big time.
He punched them in the Star of David. Lied about his criminal status in Brazil. Not getting into that. Lied to donors. And then lied about the timing of his mother's death. Said his mom died in 9/11. Turns out she died in 2016.
My God.
Yeah, lied about his campaign finances. Yeah. Okay, that's going to piss off finance people. Lied about his name. Nobody cares. Lied to investors. That's going to, he might wind up dead somewhere. But I guess and we're just getting started, but I had to get this off my chest. The straw that broke the camel's back. This guy said he got a scholarship, a volleyball scholarship at Baruch College.
Not possible.
And he said, Not
possible.
He said, well, that's why I'm going to give you the floor in the sniff test. And he also said the year he played, they wiped the floor with Harvard and Yale. So now New Yorkers, they already knew this guy was full of it, because most New Yorkers volleyball players are familiar with the CUNY system. And with respect to the CUNY system, there's only really 2 good coaches out of all of that, whatever. Then you got NYU, Jose Pena, that's not a CUNY school, but everyone knew it was a lie because they all knew the year he was talking about. But this is why I'm going to give you the floor. Like, you live in California, right? And someone says that, you have a sniff test.
Right.
And the first part is what? Like Baruch College. Like
scholarship, not possible in Division One.
It's not even for
it's
men's
barely
volleyball,
possible in Division One.
That's what makes you look, right?
No. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And you would know that. And a journalist who's writing an article or doing the research on someone should know that. Yeah,
so it's Baruch is Division 3.
Yeah.
Right? And Division 3 doesn't offer athletic scholarships.
Correct.
Division 1, educating our people, only offers 4.5. So you as a volleyball mom, right?
Yeah.
You're like an 18-person roster. Ain't nobody getting no full ride. No one gets that ride in Division I, right? So, and the second thing was Yale.
It doesn't have a men's program.
Yeah, they don't have a men's NCAA program. So
yeah, I'm sure they might have a heck of a club team. I don't know that, but they do not have an NCAA program. So you could play Harvard, but you couldn't play Yale.
So it's bittersweet for me because Baruch is now making the news, the men's volleyball program, and I thought that was long overdue because the year he's talking about, they did in fact wipe the floor with Harvard. They beat them 3-0. They visited California. They played the Banana Slugs, who at the time, I think it was
that's a great Division III
Todd
program.
Hollenbeck. I think he was coaching them, and no more ums. And great program. And Baruch beat him in 5. They lost him in 4 and beat him in 5, and then they beat Harvard,
what year was
which
this
is
again?
Division 2010, I believe.
Okay.
They had this recruitment of extraordinary Puerto Rican players. In fact, 3 of them transferred from Elms College. Okay. So he figured Santos.
Yeah.
I believe there was a Santos on the team, but
everything does go back to
thought he can get
volleyball
away
somehow.
with that. So I'm happy that Baruch's actually getting mentioned because besides Springfield, I don't think there's a Division III program that produces like the most professional players. They're all playing pro or whatever.
And
they're
George
all,
Santos is definitely not one of them.
Yeah. And the other reason why it's sweet, because Baruch wasn't always like that. There's a guy named Justin Stack who took guys that no one would touch. He took guys that never played volleyball, played with me for a year, and the next year that guy's a good middle. And he took from 2003 to 2006. Okay. He built this program where like everyone's like, I want to go to that school.
Right.
And then his wife, who was a shrewd recruiter and also a coach, took over as head coach. And as a family, they created this fantastic dynasty, which is Forbes magazine, New York Times magazine. You can't talk about Baruch and where they are or without talking about what the Stack family has created.
That's very cool.
So that's the happy part.
Yeah.
The sad part is I can forgive anything, and I can forgive any lie, right?
Okay.
When I read off this list of lies, what were you thinking? That guy could become president.
Oh, well, yeah, sadly, yeah, because we have these, I don't care what party you're talking about, we have a small group of people trying to protect their power, influence, and money.
We're
sick of it.
Oh, we're
sick of it.
Ooh,
yeah.
you done punched them in the mansion.
Yeah.
You done punched them on the mansion door.
This is why I love mixing it up with you. This is how.
So yeah, I could forgive anything, but not volleyball. Everyone, that's come on.
Yeah.
You don't have to lie about that. That is a big time C story. So
yeah. Well.
So got that off my chest. You don't even have to actually. It might not even be worth a whole section.
Well, here's the deal. My blanket on any of these stories is like, I don't understand how people sleep at night. I say that way too often these days. Because how do you sleep at night? You're going to be on the front page of every newspaper, but then no one seems to care. The guy is still in Congress.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? We don't want our kids to get away with this kind of stuff, but here, let me elect you, put you in Congress, and let you be some kind of story that we have to read about every single day, that something else has come out worse. And guess what? It's never just about the one guy.
Yeah.
There is a power structure behind him that is allowing this to happen. Not okay.
You know the crazy thing is, like, McCarthy has gotten rid of 2 people on the Intel committee. I believe one was Adam Schiff. He basically said that Adam Schiff knew some things that he wasn't allowed to share, and either on his worst days allowed lies to sail that he knew the truth about, but it went against his narrative, or was just going along with the lies. So, but sitting in the room, and talking about introducing new members. There was only a handful of representatives sitting in the room. One of the representatives sitting front row when McCarthy was talking about getting new blood in there. The person sitting front row was Santos. So I'm like, seriously? McCarthy, are you trying to tell me that you're getting these guys out citing as a pretext their integrity and their ability to not speak the truth? And that guy's sitting in your front row.
Right.
If I were McCarthy, I'd be like, you can't sit in the front row. You have to get in the back because the cameras are gonna. You have to sit back there in the crowd. Don't be sitting there like one of those Christians in the front row of the church.
I'm telling you, Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Well, this goes back to the point I think you said before you walked in. You were like, I had to reduce the amount of time I watched the news to 10 minutes? You said. I don't want to sit and digest this stuff 24 hours a day. it's not inspiring.
No.
It's not empowering. There's a lot more interesting people walking around doing great things than this crap that's coming through here.
Well, what's happening now? If you remember when we grew up, right? You had this knob on your TV, right?
Yeah.
You had channel 2, channel 5, 4, 7, 9, 13, and if you push the rabbit ears, you can watch
that was channel 53.
Telemundo.
That was channel 21 was
So we always had this option where they had a finite amount of time. So they only had enough time to just get the news, tell you the news, and we decided for ourselves what happened based on the news received.
Yeah.
But when cable TV happened and cable news happened, and now we're deciding we're trying to make up our mind what the news was,
right?
And they're telling us what happened, how they feel about it, and we don't even know what the story is.
So and then we're going to form our opinion because we're going to jump on one camp or the other from whoever's commentary we're listening to, right? And I like to think. I mean, people like you and I have the ability. We love to think for ourselves. We love the inquiring mind of figuring out who's coming from where. But kids aren't being taught to think like that.
No.
They're not being taught to ask questions. They're not being built up to have the confidence to ask questions, because when they do, and really, even our generation, when you do, then you're ostracized if you think different than the people around you.
Right.
Right? So you're encouraged to jump into a camp and go with the group think mentality.
Right.
And it's not doing anybody any good.
Well, it's made it hypersensitive because, again, in the 70s and the 80s, there were always Democrats and Republicans, and there was political parties.
For sure.
But because the news was more straightforward, there was a level of civility.
Yeah.
Where you, all right, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're pro-life, I'm pro-choice. Okay, we're not going to agree on that, but you know what? We got this bill against domestic violence.
Yeah, there are issues we can come together on.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to sign that bill unless you give me my pro-choice thing. You know, I mean, and I think winning and fighting another day was better in politics back then because of that.
Yeah.
So, and we're in a very important time because we went from that to cable networks that were subsequently purchased, if not always owned, by people who are pulling the strings to set us apart. Fox News, right, is predominantly Republican, right? You have CNN, MSNBC. MSNBC bleeds blue.
Yeah.
CNN is blue. The new owner's trying to make it more balanced. Like they're talking about having Bill Maher have a section, and which is a dangerous move. If they're truly left, that's a dangerous move because Bill Maher is a liberal, but he took an oath to the office of comedy.
Yeah.
So if it's a period of time where the Democrats are stupid, they're not going to like him.
No,
right?
Totally. He doesn't subscribe to groupthink.
No. So we went from that to the power of cable news. And now it's more dangerous because now you have independent journalists who, this is what I like, because sometimes if you're at a cable network and you say something that they don't like, you get fired.
Yeah.
Right? Rachel Maddow, I'm sure, would love to say a bunch of things, but $23,000 an episode?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, right? What does it profit a man if he loses, he gains the world but loses his soul?
Yeah.
There are compensations.
Yeah. Well, there's security that needs to be had.
Yeah, so independent journalists on YouTube, Twitter, whatever, have changed the game a little bit.
Tell people the shows you like to watch on YouTube.
Well, there's a show called The Hill.
Yeah.
They're a YouTube show off the magazine. The magazine is predominantly left, but they have a healthy balance of a libertarian, Rob Sove. This Brianna Grainger, who irks me sometimes, but man, she's one of those people when she's on your side, you're like, preach, and when she's not, I'm like, oh my God, get out of here, you know?
Because she's that good.
Yeah. Well, she's almost hysterically good. It's like, dude, you got to let someone get a word in, but at the same time, you admire the passion. Someone cares that much. So, Jimmy Dore is a pothead comedian that everyone identifies as right wing, which is the greater point I was trying to get to. There's something going on where big tech. We both agree big tech is dominated by the left, right?
Yes.
We both know that Hollywood is left dominated.
Right.
So
Correct. I should
so
say.
what happens? And I'm gonna go as
No, I
fast.
love this.
I'm gonna go faster on this one. What happens is that everyone thought Twitter and like some of these social networks were censoring people that had right-wing views, and they weren't wrong. There was a percentage of that was right, but that wasn't what people don't realize. Those guys had right-wing views all along. So it's like, why starting now? Oh, it's because someone's in the White House? No, because they had those views when Obama was in office. What happened was there's a group that's left to the left. There's a group of people that identify themselves as progressives, but feel like they're betrayed by their party.
Okay.
And when they started talking on Twitter, that's when censorship happened. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, resident nutball, right? She got whatever. But think about Jimmy Dore being called a right-winger, right? Now, if you are a gang person, I'm gonna give you the floor in a minute. If you have the gang mentality, a Demo Crip or Bloodlicken, as Jesse would call them.
Okay.
Sorry, I apologize to Crips and Bloods. I know you respect. I'm only gonna apologize to you. So they're identifying him as right wing because he's always calling out the left. And to them, if you call out the left,
then you must
by their law of assumption, based on some unfounded given, that you're the other way around. But what you say and what your beliefs are, that inspires critical thinking skills. Think about this. Jimmy Dore is Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dore is same-sex marriage. Jimmy Dore is pro-Social Security, leave our Social Security alone. He is pro-gun legislation, like gun reform. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't think everyone should have a hand cannon.
Right.
He's all about unions. He's all about $15, if he can, $25 minimum wage or whatever.
All of that stuff
so all of these things identify. He's anti-war, which I thought was a classic liberal thing, but now that's an ultimate
No, everything
reversal,
has
right?
switched.
So what I'm trying to say, and because I know you, I want you to keep your thought. You have a thought. What I'm trying to say is there's a group of people like him that are being accused of being right wing because they are spending a lot of their time telling the left, "We voted for you,
and you've gone too far."
We voted for you on forced to vote. We voted for you on Medicare for all. We voted for you. The first thing I'm going to do when I'm in office is codify abortion, right? You do all these things, and when you get in, right?
You do nothing.
Anna Kasparian said they can't even pass a voting rights bill. They're losers. That's what she remember that erratic post I said. So the floor is yours, but I wanted that to seep into your level of thinking as you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you on every level there because I don't think that labels are doing us any good, right? I mean, and comedy is going to save us if we allow it to.
Yeah.
Because they are the last people that can actually say what they think. And most of the time, I mean, there's a lot more out there not letting you get away with it, but you can get away with it when you diffuse with comedy and you attack everybody equally. Because nobody, when a comic takes a stage, is
But censoring
immune.
is dangerous.
But censorship is super dangerous, and it's happening. Like it is
It's happened to us.
It's happened to both of us. And they think when you're small, no one's gonna notice.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the thing, I don't want to go up against some 500-pound gorilla. I'm doing too many great things in my day than to sit on frickin' hold or find some forum that is never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how my day goes. So moving on. But America, where is our freedom of speech? Where is it gone? Like for people like you and I, for people raising families and trying to teach their kids to think critically and have values and sit around the table and have intelligent discussions, what's going on? Why is it being taken away? At what cost? And like I said, there is a small group of people that are trying to protect their own power, their own influence, and their own money. And everybody else is, unless you agree with them, is getting shut down.
Right. Well, here's how it happens. If someone's influential, when when I say influential, I'll say like Joe Rogan, right? And some people they hear that word and it makes them do this, and some people are like, yeah, preach.
Yeah.
I will say this: he's the most viewed podcast in the world, period.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people that actually get your news from Joe Rogan, as far as news networks, he has 11,000 views an episode.
Well,
right?
real quick, people need to understand the difference between news and commentary.
Right.
Keep talking.
Yes. Because we're not what we're doing right now. We're not bringing you the news. We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
So this is another guy they identified as being right wing, but when you look at his pattern, he pays his taxes. He's for the $1,100 a month thing that Andrew Yang said. He's the only thing that he might identify being right wing is he loves his guns. But guns shouldn't be associated with a right wing.
No, because guns are very tied to the mental health crisis.
So here's the example that I was trying to do. Facebook a year ago, what happened was he endorsed someone that was not establishment. Mm-hmm. It was Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. And then
who, by the way, is doing a show. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then after Bernie Sanders lost, he listened to Biden do a couple of speeches. And then he said, I would rather vote for Trump than that guy. So it was all the ammunition they needed to consider him right wing. Because that's not what he meant. What he meant was, I'd rather vote for Amy Klobuchar than that guy. I'd rather vote for Hillary Clinton than that guy.
He wasn't.
How do we know that? Because he did in 2016.
Yeah.
He voted for Hillary. So he also said if Michelle Obama ran, he'd vote for her. So it's not so. When you have cable news and when you have people that control the narrative, and they can say whatever they want and not get censored.
Right.
Biden said, and Trump has said so many things on Fox News or whatever that were not true. And the news the next day not only didn't censor it, they didn't even apologize and say, we'd like to walk that back. So why? Because they can.
Well, and you have an uninformed public.
Yep. So
it goes back also to the education and people paying attention.
So I think what you're trying to say, the reason why they get away with it, I defended Joe Rogan on YouTube. I, in fact, made an episode called Free Speech is Not Popular Speech.
Oh, yeah. No,
so for the audience, right, you don't, popular speech doesn't need protection. Unpopular speech does. So one morning, you violated community guidelines, my Option Podcast handle on Facebook, which was the most viewed in the sport. I was averaging 17,000 views an episode. Gone. Wiped clean. NY Varsity Sports, restricted, meaning that the followers, if I put up a new video, they don't know. Right. They where they used to be notified if I have a new video.
Yeah.
And then my Facebook handle, highly restricted, maybe even shadow banned. No one even saw my posts.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make, it's easy to censor people because when you decide that you have Rogan's back, you find out in the end no one has yours. Mm-hmm. Exactly. No one has yours. And it makes you say, hey, volleyball's my main wheelhouse. I surrender.
Right.
I'm not,
and it makes people
I gotta get away from these gangs.
Right. So the good people are gonna shut down. The people who can critically think, the people who aren't beholden to any, you're not doing what you're doing to make millions. And by the way, I don't have a problem with people who are making millions speaking their name, speaking their piece, right? But it needs to be, the access should be equal. Yeah. Didn't you feel like like when you got your Instagram, like this huge, immense, you had the following of an 18-year-old. You had like the number of followers you had. I'm like, this girl's 16 years old or something. Because those are the only people I know that have like tens of thousands of. But the thing is, it doesn't equate to worth. Yeah. Okay, so the day that
But did it make you surrender? Did it make you at some point say, you know what, I don't want any trouble?
No, I spent too much of my life doing that.
Good.
Yeah. But it also didn't hit my ego. I was like, what is this? Why did this happen? But it didn't like affect my day in a way.
My ego, man.
See, it didn't hit my ego.
Right in the ab flab, dude.
Yeah. I remember we had some good conversations. And what did I tell you? Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, what you said was, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Which meant a lot to me.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. But it's true. And if my account never comes back, my life...
That's how you choose to go out. Yeah.
We keep going. We just keep going. Like, that's how it works. for normal people who are passionate about what they're doing. If you know your purpose, you're just going to get up and keep doing it.
And is that the message we send to people who have an opinion and have been shadow banned and censored? And is that the message we're sending to them right now in this podcast?
Yeah.
Are we just saying this too shall pass? Just
No.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of people that
right.
feel the way I felt, like you have someone's back that has a platform.
Yeah.
But if you get canceled, no one has yours.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
and you're,
like
you're
George
kinda,
Floyd, what happened
yeah.
with George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
You have George Floyd's back, you're doing a peaceful protest, it
Yeah.
spills into riots, right? And now all
Right.
of a sudden, no one has yours, right? January 6th, all those people that believe Trump should have won,
Yeah.
Trump made them believe, I have your back.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these are just examples from the left and the right of
Well, it's-
people learning the hard way that there are consequences.
Well, it's a hard way. What's hard about breaking through the noise when your ego is not, when it isn't about you, when it is about the message, when it is about what you're trying to send out into the world to make it better,
Yeah.
but your ego's not involved. What's frustrating is seeing people who are so much more about themselves be elevated.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's Rogan. I think
No.
he's great. I love, the research that goes into those shows, it's brilliant.
And you never hear him talk more than his guests unless it's a comedian.
Oh, interesting.
If it's a comedian,
Yeah.
it's less of an interview and more of a conversation because
Yeah.
he's a comedian.
Yeah.
Like everyone's talking about, he's in the politics or he's giving medical advice, this and that. He did draw a line in the sand when he actually said I would vote for Bernie Sanders. He drew a line in the sand, and I knew Democrats and Republicans would come after it because
Right.
Bernie's an independent, and Bernie, even though he leans left on the Senate floor, the establishment still doesn't consider him one of them.
Yeah.
They really don't.
Right.
So with Joe, I like it because, like we're doing, he's not bringing you the news. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
He's not giving you medical advice. It's a conversation.
And he's bringing on people that can't get on other places.
Yeah.
So that's what we're getting at the
Yeah.
heart of here. Because I want to be able to access information. I am constantly learning, researching. There aren't enough hours in the day for me to learn all the things I want to learn. And still fulfill my life and responsibilities. But there are not places, unless you know where to go and look, you're not going to hear it if you just turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Like it's not, and so people like Rogan they're lighting the path for other people that are raising critically thinking individuals, and that's what needs to happen. But why is it so hard?
Well, through a podcast like that, well, it's hard. It's not hard for him anymore because the more hate he gets, the more downloads he's getting.
For sure.
Like when he stuck his toe in COVID,
Right.
And they tried to come after
But
him. He had 2 million more downloads. It created a Streisand effect.
Yeah.
So they decided to leave him alone. CNN messed with him, and now look at CNN's viewership.
Right. So who are they going to come after?
Do you know why Fox is doing better? One, because Tucker Carlson and those guys have already been accepted as entertainers. One, and two, none of them crossed the boss. Everybody that's crossed the boss. Don Lemon had a night show. Now he's in the morning show, holding on by a thread.
Yeah.
So think about all of the people that had something to say about him. See, there's a reason why. I was a CNN guy. I lost all respect when they said he was taking horse pills and never apologized, never walked that back.
Yeah.
You know? So, but what you were saying about guests. Now here's the thing. You want to have guests because sometimes people have a predisposition, a thought about them, but maybe they're misunderstood as you hear the conversation.
Right.
Okay. Like Roseanne Barr. Everyone thought big racist, this and that. Listen to that podcast. She's not a racist. She's mentally, she has mental problems. People don't know she spent 8 years in a mental hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Before
I don't
Roseanne.
know that, and I haven't listened to this.
But you know what I'm saying? So you see these stories. Well, you're not going to get that in a 6-minute interview.
Right.
On Fox News or MSNBC, right? It's not going to be, you're not going to understand a fully grasp what someone's about if you really want to know who they are in 6 minutes.
But the attention span of the American public is 6 minutes or less.
Yeah.
So we're trying to jam all this stuff into sound bites to get as many likes, hits as we can, and while our consciousness is dying.
Right.
The American consciousness. And then you have something like ChatGPT come in and start writing everything. Your consciousness is taking a hit. Your AI is going up. What are we going to do?
Well,
you know,
wherever it's headed, I know there's a small group of people out there to make sure they want to make sure that they control where it's headed.
Yeah.
Like if you go on Twitter and you scroll on your wall, it's all blue checks.
Yep.
People that you don't even follow.
Right.
It's people that have a blue check next to their name, which is why they're trying to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying they're trying to ban TikTok. Because it's easy. The Chinese can spy on you and get your information. No, that's happening to us.
No matter
That's
what.
happening to us with Spotify, right? Because Spotify is
Yeah.
not American. It's happening with American because we spy on our own citizens. And the thing is, here's what TikTok is. TikTok doesn't have blue check systems. If you're trending, you're trending. So you don't have to be well known to trend.
Okay.
And Twitter, it's basically the anti-Twitter and the anti-Instagram.
Okay.
Because
So they're not rewarding the cool kid crowd.
they're not rewarding people that have a check to their name.
Yeah.
And this is what Twitter is. It's turned into a place where you scroll and you find out what Jordan Peterson said or Joe Biden or some celebrity, and then you look at the post.
Right.
Like on there's 430 comments
Yeah.
arguing about why that guy's right
Yes.
and why that guy's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's what Twitter is. We find out what someone's well-known said and we argue about it. TikTok, it still has that same desensitizing thing.
Yeah.
These 1 minute and 15-second things. But if you're trending, you're trending.
So there's two ways I could just go with what you said. One is to get to your blog and what you were talking about and stop arguing with everyone. Stop arguing, they're fine.
It's called They're Fine.
Yes, exactly. So I want to hit that for sure.
Yes, but I want to finish with Joe.
Yeah.
So Joe has guessed that 1, you find out they're misunderstood.
Yeah.
2, you find out that they're actually likable or not, right?
Yeah,
Or you.
right. Yeah.
3, you find out everything that you thought that they said was wrong. It turns out they're right.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a term called false balance, and I'm going to finish. I'll close the jar on
No,
Joe.
I want to hear this.
So false balance is giving a minority opinion equal time, a platform or whatever.
Yes.
So with Dr. Malone, they had a problem with him because they thought Joe was providing false balance. This one guy is going to have just as much time to talk about the opinion of this small minority against the hundreds of thousands of people that feel a different way. And what we come to find out, false balance was not applicable because Malone wasn't alone on his opinion.
Right.
There was guys, look, Google search the Great Barrington Declaration.
Yes.
It's hundreds of thousands of physicians, medical
It's
professionals
brilliant.
that got together that decided, look, the vaccine might work or it might not. And if it doesn't, we have to have something else in regards to early treatment. That got shut down by the NIH.
Yeah.
And that got shut down by the CDC and AIH. Through an email. There's a chain email, Freedom of Information Act, that says we can't let the 3 guys that started it, professor from Harvard, professor from Stanford, and professor from Oxford.
Yeah.
Right? And so it wasn't a false balance thing with Malone. And the second reason is it wasn't a false balance because for every one Malone he had on the podcast, he had a Sanjay Gupta, who was CNN's rock star. He had Dr. Alstholm, who was part of Joe Biden's first response, phase 1 or COVID response team. He's working at the White House only on COVID. So he's had maybe 5 of those guys to one Peter McCulloch and one Malone. Yeah. So, go ahead.
And how does false balance even exist in a world where we're being censored?
Right.
It doesn't. That's not it.
Well, censorship makes everybody else think you're pumping a conspiracy theory.
Right.
Right? If you're the only one saying it because they don't hear
Because
the
you're
other
not
dissenting
hearing
voices,
it.
you're alone.
Exactly. And then why do we have to wait? How many years do we have to wait for real statistics to come out from the government? We have to wait
About 2.
5, 10. I mean, we're
Well, no, for everyone to get the point, 5 years.
right.
We're
So
2 years in and everybody's kind of like, there's some,
maybe.
you can bleep this, there's some here,
Well, and the numbers are there for the toll on the deaths in every other addiction, suicide. I mean, things that are heartbreaking and absolutely affecting the human condition. And we're sitting here going, oh, we have a mental health crisis. I wonder why. People don't like to be isolated. It's very detrimental. Kids need to be educated. They need to learn in environments with other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to get...
It's going to get ugly.
We're getting into areas
things get worse before they get better.
Yeah.
This is what the podcast is for, and this is why I talked about Joe, and we don't need to mention him again. My bias leans towards him because he was an inspiration for me to start my podcast.
Right.
He's a critical thinker, and he doesn't go the other way for its own sake. That's not his style. But he is a comedian, and just like Oprah Winfrey, just like any night show, Jay Leno. If you know Jamie Foxx is going to be on that, I'm tuning in. Right? If you know maybe Bill Clinton's going to be on there. This guy's got a big bright light behind him. He's one of the brightest people I've ever met. You're going to watch that episode. If it's someone else, I'll skip that one. And that's the way everybody should treat a podcast.
Yeah.
Right? If he had Robert Downey Jr. in his podcast, I'm down. I'm watching that. He had Roseanne Barr or Ted Nugent. That's not someone's cup of tea.
Right.
And
so skip it.
That's the greater point I was trying to make. We're only
exactly.
providing a conversation.
Right.
No one that runs a podcast is pretending to be an expert. But podcasts are important that without the podcast, no one's going to ask the question.
Right.
You need, guys, I'm a moron. Okay?
Hardly.
I am a moron from Brooklyn. But it takes someone like me to ask the question at a certain level on the subject where people can talk about it. Then when the level gets too high, all right, let's bring in some experts. But no expert is going to ask themselves a question that they already know the answer to. No, the Virology podcast, excellent podcast for doctors.
Right.
Boring.
No, boring.
Chris Ships, I love you wherever you are, but that's boring.
Yeah, you are somebody's relatable messenger.
And that's what we need.
Exactly.
That's what we need.
That's human connection.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm not your messenger, I mean, we couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
The two of us. And yet we will sit around and have these conversations, which I think the world is starving for.
But that's
I hate small talk. Enough. Let's dig in on the stuff that matters.
Small talk is fun too. We started with Santos.
You make me laugh, but
well, that was personal to me, man.
That's not small talk. Like, that's how does somebody get to this level by lying?
Yeah, he went and punched everybody in the Bearcats, man. But the greater point I was trying to make, and thank God we could edit half of this. The greater point I was trying to make was that everyone thought the censorship thing was a left versus right thing. And whoever's running this has to make everybody believe that because one, left versus right still takes the stage for everybody to find their gang, right? But what's really happening, and I don't know if you knew this or not before I came on the podcast. It's designed to crush a group of people, another group of people before they get too big. And that's right now that are people, a huge number of people who are left to the left. They're called progressives. They don't want to be called Democrats anymore.
Yeah.
Teaming up with moderate right people.
Right.
Rand Paul. Yeah. Rand Paul, I can't stand Rand Paul, but the last 2 years I'm loving that guy.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right.
So and yeah.
And people who can see all the way through something and say what they mean, and they don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
And that's why you love them, whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah, you have to have a filter of not caring and caring. It's a mixture.
Okay.
You have to care what people think, but do you care to a point where you are just going to keep everything to yourself because you're scared of what they're going to think? In that case, don't care. Don't care what they think.
Yeah.
Care what they think, but don't be a bully. Don't be a bully. Don't be an idiot about it, right?
Well, realize that your perspective is just one perspective, and it came from your upbringing. You and I have very different perspectives. I grew up in the Central Valley of California and grew up in Flatbush Avenue. Very different perspectives.
And here we are.
Getting along. So how do we relate as human beings without putting labels on everything? Because everybody wants.
You said it before the podcast.
Yeah, everybody wants to label everything.
The answer to that, you said it. Again, you say a lot of things that you know and don't know at the same time, which is your genius. Like, I don't remember saying that, but cool if I did.
Totally. All the time.
Be polite.
Yeah.
Be polite. Democrats and Republicans had different views in the 80s, but things got done because there was a level of civility. From the political standpoint, if you call me a stupid liberal, right? Yeah. Of course I'm going to say, screw you, you freaking you gun nut. And how is anyone supposed to have a conversation like that?
Right. So use your intellect.
Be polite.
Be polite. What's the difference between being polite and being politically correct?
Well, being politically correct or saying things that everyone wants to hear, because if you say something agreeable, you can bring people closer to your argument. And maybe you have an agenda that's with them anyway and everybody's happy, but maybe you're trying to backdoor something else in, but you have to be politically correct. Being polite is having a rigorous debate, and you, as far as their character is concerned, it's off limits.
You're not assailing anyone's character.
Any hysteria or passion or banging on or whatever, is if you can find a way to totally put that in the argument. I'm not saying that there won't be emotion, because people think politeness is supposed to be absence of emotion, and for the most part, like if you look at a correlation, that's become true, but not really.
Yeah, and nor is that healthy.
No.
Like, I'd rather see passion than people sweeping their feelings under the rug and being like, oh, I didn't want to touch that, and then they walk out and they're bitter and they're repressed. Yeah. Like, get it out. Let's talk about it.
No, politeness is decency. Decency is what your grandmother taught you.
Yeah.
Okay? Politically correct is knowing that the conversation requires sacrifice.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know? There are people in marriages that are politically correct, right? They know their wife doesn't like to hear conversations about that, so they're going to be nice about and not say that.
Right.
Maybe someone is not into like hiking or whatever, but their wife likes to hike, and it's not something they hate. Right. They'd rather be doing something else. Maybe they like to play video games or something, right? Yeah. But they'll do that. Yeah. So that's political correctness. Yeah. Holding a chair for someone is polite.
Agreed.
It's not politically correct.
Yeah.
In fact, these days it's more incorrect. It's sexist, right?
I do not subscribe to that.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
You got to see the movie Roman.
My son says...
You have to see the movie Roman Israel, Esquire.
Oh,
Sorry, what did your son say?
My 15-year-old says, Mom, you got to walk far enough behind them so they actually have a chance to open the door for you.
There you go.
I was like, nice, way to notice, kid.
There it is, yeah. Well, Roman Israel who's a defense attorney. He's a movie. It's Denzel Washington.
Yes. Oh,
where
that's
he was like, "Hey, why don't some of you guys give up give the seats to some of the sisters who are standing, right?" And there were two women that were offended by that, and they were like, "It's sexist." He says, "No, it's polite." Like it's also demeaning. And he says, "No, it's polite." He just said, "No, it's polite."
He didn't move his opinion. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that again. That is a great movie.
Man, did they get tight about that? That conversation started from there and escalated into something where she was cursing him out. And Roman Israel, guys, Roman Israel Esquire, good movie.
Such a great movie. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't ever done anything I don't want to watch again. But
I've seen Denzel in plenty of bad movies, but I've never seen him perform poorly.
But he's not bad.
No, exactly. I've never seen him perform poorly in a movie that's good or bad.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a favorite, I'll go The Hurricane, the Reuben Hurricane Carter story.
Oh, that's a great story. Yeah, great movie.
Him battling schizophrenia or something that seemed like he's in the jail cell.
Yeah.
For the people watching The Hurricane, he's solitary confinement for this ridiculous a large amount of time. And what happens is he has a scared side that's like, I'm afraid, and he has a mean side saying, shut up, you little B. And then there's someone in the middle saying, no, you shut up, you leave him alone or whatever. So he had to play these three different characters where like, in reality, it's one guy yelling at himself, but in the movie, it's literally someone standing here, someone standing here, someone standing here, and all three of them are him, until he finally snapped. There's no one else here to be mad at except you. No one else to destroy except you.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Such a good movie.
So being polite.
Yeah.
Being polite. We talked about politeness when we were talking about bullying. Remember we were talking about bullying before the podcast?
Right. And it's a subject that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and it's something that affects my everyday. And I notice coming through COVID and kids going back to school and having a year and a half, 2 years less of socialization. And you can say it's some of those things, but at the very root of it, what are we teaching our kids and how are we helping them to feel safe enough with who they are that they don't have to take out their insecurity on somebody else? I hope you're enjoying this conversation on What I Meant to Say, produced by my company, Be Better Media. To see the world of why we are striving to share inspired edutainment, I invite you to please check out our website, bebettermedia.tv. Here you will find all kinds of great stuff from upcoming new productions to lifestyle products and services I personally use and endorse, to links to great books and other podcasts I love and recommend. Please check us out at bebettermedia.tv. That's bebettermedia.tv.
How you raise your kids is going to determine if you're one of those people censoring us.
Yeah.
Or if you rob me in 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, man, take care of your kid before they rob me in a decade. You know, so redefining bullying, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about it earlier. Bullying, and I wrote this down, bullying is the repeated infliction of harm or distress on another person with the intent to control, intimidate, or otherwise damage one another. And it comes in all forms, including verbal torment, social attacks, physical aggression, and taunting. It can happen both in person or through the social media or the internet at large. And whether bullying is brief or ongoing, it can be hurtful and long-lasting consequences that manifest in psychological or physical damage.
Yeah.
Bullying was pretty bad when we grew up, but there's so many levels. And you were talking about bullying coming through your walls.
Yeah.
Girl, I talk too much. Talk about bullying coming through your walls.
Well, you're on my show. I love hearing you talk. So I love everything.
She's like,
saying.
I'm asking her questions
but
here.
Here's the deal. Yeah, one, there are no boundaries anymore. No. You don't get to come home and feel safe because you're going to flip on your video game, or you're going to, you can take the phone from them. I mean, I'm a proponent of enough time away from tech because it's terrible for these developing brains on the scale that they are taking it in.
Yeah.
But there's no reprieve. They don't get away from the noise. And if they aren't the cool kid, if they're not the popular kid, which I've raised my kids saying, like, you don't need to be part of the cool crowd. I was never part of the cool crowd. I was nice enough that most of the time everyone was nice to me, and I had enough skill, athletically or in the classroom. Like I didn't stand out in a way. But if you are a kid who stands out for something you struggle with, there is no reprieve for those kids right now. And we're raising a generation of kids that are lacking empathy because they're communicating through their phone and not having to look someone in the eye and say, like, there is a consequence when you speak to someone that way. Now,
I mean, wow, yeah. Where do we start?
I mean, there's so much there.
Where do we start? Do we start with internet
I don't know,
bullies, or do we start with bullies?
I texted Ash the other day and I had to just take the afternoon off after I picked up my kid from school because I was like, if I feel like this,
like secondhand stress,
how does he feel going in? Like, you got to get up the next day, put on your clothes, and go to school. And I watch him do it. Yeah. And he's, head held high, and he's doing his thing. But
he's doing better than me.
It's tough.
Doing better than me.
But I don't want to know.
Remember the story I told you about me being bullied?
Yeah.
Dude,
So
So I was at John Dewey High School, and I was the victim of bullying in junior high and elementary or whatever. I mean, there's a sticks and stones things that were hurtful to me in the beginning, but I just have thick skin. When you're grown, and if you're in Brooklyn on Flatbush Avenue, if your mom's black and your dad's white, and one or two people want to find a way to poke fun at that, and if those people have stronger personalities, everyone gangs up on you, so you get called all these stupid names: white, wigger, Oreo cookie, zebra, newspaper, that's all funny. There's probably people listening to the podcast. It's like, oh my God, that's hilarious, right? Yeah. And it's not their fault. And for them, fine, get your laugh on. But for me, at that time, hurtful, kept it to myself because in that day and age, sticks and stones bullying was something you just had to deal with.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the rhymes I remember from my earliest
because
days.
Because we had bigger fish to fry with people physically bullying people. Yeah. Right?
As a female, I did not. First, actually, though, you're right.
Yeah, we had bigger fish to fry.
The bullying I remember was someone telling me they were going to kick my ass.
Yeah, look, who the hell today, if a kid has a choice to say, meet me after school at 3:00, we fighting, or I got a new update on my Avengers video game. I got the whole school time to bully this guy. I want to go do something else. So back then it was more physical because there was more time to do it. So basically, John Dewey High School, there was a Russian kid that was kind of like bullying me, and he kind of bullied me in front of a girl that I liked and liked me, and it was kind of embarrassing. And then a day later, someone else saw it, right? Another Russian kid, and did the same thing. So what happened is I walked away, and when I got down the hallway stairs, I stopped, and I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know mentally. I'm just saying I'm physically drawing it for you. Change my mind means I'm walking and I stopped and I turned around and went back. That's changing my mind.
Yeah.
So I turned around, I changed my mind, and I came back to the lockers where he was, and I grabbed him by the throat with both hands. And he punched me in the face 3 times, but I didn't feel it. Mm-hmm. And this kid's turning purple.
Your adrenaline was already,
This kid's turning purple, and I'm choking him. Didn't really know how to fight until later. The army or whatever. But choking, this kid's turning purple. It was like, for anyone listening, think of Lord of the Rings, think of Schmeagol, how bad he wants that ring. Like,
Yeah.
You tried to steal it from me. My precious!
So,
yeah, you're out of body at that point.
yeah. I didn't even know I was doing.
Right.
But I do remember him punching me in the face, and I remember not feeling it.
Wow.
And then the next day I was late for school, and I found out a friend of mine said there's like 15 Russian dudes waiting for me. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So anyone that lives in New York, if you're from Flatbush, but you have to go to John Dewey High School, there's 2 ways to get there. You have to go through Brighton Beach and Ocean Parkway, West 8th Street, all Russian Jews.
Okay.
Predominantly Russian. In fact, the stores don't even have English names on them, in some of them, know?
Yeah.
And then, so Coney Island and one stop to Bensonhurst. Or I could go the other way, the Atlantic Avenue, whatever, and this and that. But I cut school for a year. No one knew. I played hooky from school.
For a year?
Yeah. I went to the arcade. And then finally a truant officer came and told my parents I wasn't going to school.
But it took a year.
Yeah.
For them to find out, for someone to notice.
Well, what happened was I would periodically go to school.
Okay.
Power volleyball class?
Yeah.
Because I picked up volleyball my senior year, volleyball class, sure. Intro to acting? I think I'll stick my head in that class a couple of times. Because John Dewey, you need to understand, John Dewey, there's some schools, they lock the doors and they don't let you out until 3:00. But John Dewey was independent study, so meaning that you got to choose your classes and you got to pick the time slots that were available. So if you didn't have a class from 10 to 3, go home, come back.
Yeah.
It was a college setting.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're treating
campus.
you like a college
It was
kid.
an independent study school.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to literally play hooky for a year.
Yeah.
And I think their gates are locked now. I don't know what it looks like now, but...
Well, things have changed so much, but what I hear there is, like, honestly, getting the next generation, and what you saw was what we tap into what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Right? We're willing to show up for what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
For you, it was volleyball and acting, right? And that's, again, some of the reasons that we get along so well is because I'm passionate about volleyball, but my kid is an actor. And I see this.
She's good.
And I see when you show them, when you help them, rather than tell them who they're going to be, or like you see a lot of parents pushing, like you need to be a doctor, you lawyer, like there's some approved path, versus helping nurture them to see what they're most passionate about, because then things start to take care of themselves.
Yeah. You know what else took care of bullying though back then? There was a promotion of TV shows and just a culture of standing up against bullies cool. Like G.I. Joe. I grew up watching G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Right? I joined the Army because I watched G.I. Joe. Okay?
Yeah.
The A-team, right? You have a problem, can't solve it, the A-team's here. So they made this group of people who were powerful personalities. Mr. T, of course, strong-looking guy. G.I. Joe, killed the bad guy, saved the girl, the world for America.
Awesome storytelling.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I was proud. You're proud to be an American when you watch that. You want to go to the Statue of Liberty, reach up that knock that torch out of her hand for America. So... But the reason why it wasn't as big of an enigma as it is now is because bullying wasn't cool more than it was cool. It was not cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So and to this day, I despise bullies. It's almost the most one of the more hard to forgive and impossible forget things.
Because when you're knocking at a kid's confidence before they can discover what their passion is, like in discovering what your passion is, you're gonna make mistakes. And if you don't feel comfortable enough to be able to make mistakes, if you're constantly in an environment where people are just hammering on you, like because you didn't do well on a test, or because you didn't get the girl, or you didn't get invited to whatever, you don't have the opportunity. Like within that kid, they don't have the confidence to try things and then discover what they're good at. Right. Everybody's good at something, but you gotta have that safe space to understand, to do the work, to figure out what it is. And that's what I just don't understand in education today, because now we're disciplining different because we put labels on kids, you know, like somehow, I mean, we can get into the racism and the way we're disciplining kids, and like when we start saying, oh, well, you know, black kids are disciplined more than white kids, and so we're going to stop suspending kids. Okay, this is going on.
Yeah. The SATs too, they're trying to get rid of the SATs.
They're trying to get rid of the SATs. But like when we can go at things thinking we're doing something good, and we end up hurting the exact population of people that we're trying to help. Right? Yeah. So how we're creating less safety in our schools by being inclusive. Well, kindness is inclusive. How do we teach kids to be kind no matter who you are, what walk of life you're coming from? Because truthfully, we're all more alike than we are different.
Right. And we're also running out of the excuse of this being a new problem, right? Like, because when this first started happening, and when you first started hearing noise in the news about people committing suicide because they're getting bullied online or whatever, you were like, okay, that's a new problem then. That was years ago. I mean, almost 7 years ago, and that's I'm going to tell you the simple solution in a minute, but it was a new problem because there was a transition from how we grew up. Because speaking as a man, if someone's joking with you or trying to bully you, they have to either believe that the consequences won't be dire. Yeah. So there are certain people that are less brave on bullying you because they know as men, if it escalates to something other than words, you know, like me, someone might want to bully me, but then they find out, like, as they continue to examine me, it's like, Jesus, I made a mistake. He's going to
take care of it.
I'm going to piece him up.
Right.
But with the internet, you can do it under a username that someone knows, but they're not in the room.
Right.
Right? You're just reading. You can do it under an anonymous name, and those people are not only not censored, they're monetized. Yeah. They're celebrated because what they're saying is funny. And don't get me wrong, Wendy, I love satire. Yeah, there is not an idiot from Brooklyn that appreciates the power of ridicule and irony and farce and parody more than me. Dude, I got an A in that class. Yeah. Okay, that was a class, and all I had to do was shut up, show up, and talk. I got an A. So, but.
Not surprising.
No, but at least when I said something to someone, I knew who I was talking to.
Yeah.
I knew. I wait for the reciprocative action, and if it's not what I think it is, I'm not doing that no more.
Right.
You know? So I was never a bully in that respect, but but that's how it's changed.
Right.
But they haven't come up with the solutions, and the solution is this. Be a better parent. Like you said, take the phone, everything you're doing right now.
Yep.
Be a better parent.
Yeah.
Take the phone to tell that person, turn the channel or I'm turning off your TV.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm going back to how we grew up. We had a TV that only had 11 channels.
Yeah.
And we turn and we watch a show, and if we find a show we liked, we're good. And if we didn't, we turned the channel. If there were no good shows, we turned it off for a little bit until there was a good show.
Amen.
Enter today. We have 900 channels.
Right.
And not only are we not avoiding that channel, We're so turned off and so repulsed and have such contempt.
Yeah.
We can't wait to watch it tomorrow.
Exactly.
You know, I hate that motherfucker so much.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say tomorrow.
It's so true.
The View.
Oh, dear Lord. Yes.
Do you know? Let me tell you something.
Worst.
Do you know what outlet I watch The View? The View's on ABC or whatever, this and that. But you know what outlet I watch The View? On Twitter and on YouTube, because what they do is they take clips from it and they find their worst moments, which we know are not hard to find.
Right.
I mean, you had to work for that. No, they didn't.
No.
Okay, so. But that's an example. The View is...
And you know what? It actually makes me sad because I remember when The View
But we
started.
still watch it. I'm addicted to train wrecks. We're addicted to train.
It's rubbernecking.
As a flesh and blood guy.
Yeah.
And Kelly, don't hurt me for this, but I'm still turned on by train wreck girls.
Well, that's a whole nother episode right there.
No, but think about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about it. No. What do I have in my house? Well, she's not. She's at the office now. But what do I have in my house? You know, I have a girl who's 5'10", 5'11", plays a 3-sport athlete, plays all sports, but at the highest level, like top 50, 3 sports. Yeah. You know, got recruited to Harvard.
Yep.
You know, worked at BlackRock, got bored at BlackRock, now is with the Capital Group. She's her own boss.
Yeah.
Why would I even remotely even think about another train?
Look at maturity.
Look at that maturity. But now I could look at it and smile like I used to be able.
Lessons learned.
I used to walk past that.
Yeah.
This complete person for that.
Yeah.
It is in our human nature. Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
You know, Hillary wasn't always ugly, all right? Hillary, I mean, look,
Shay.
Hillary in the 90s, she looked awesome. Now it looks like Leona Helmsley meets the Wicked Witch. But Hillary was fine as hell in the 90s. What you need Monica for? Right? It blows up in the Daily News, the New York Post. It blows up and you see a picture. On the left is Hillary.
Yeah.
Young, smiling, whatever, energetic, highly intelligent. No matter what political party or whatever vitriol desire you have for this woman, you can't say she's stupid.
No.
No, that's a smart couple.
Yeah.
All right? But here this guy is.
Well.
Passed up Hillary, right?
Not the first politician, and not the first man. I've had this conversation many times in my house.
Well, men more so than women.
Yes.
I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna be like, well, this is science. But men more so than women are addicted to train wrecks. We as humans are addicted to train wreck shows. Yeah. Jersey Shore had 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer does it proudly. Jerry Springer. The last time I watched it was a few years ago. Their introduction is now. Voted the worst television show on TV and celebrating its 14th season. I mean, right? Yes. They actually wear that as a badge of honor right now. Yeah. And Jerry Springer is actually a mayor in Minnesota now or something like this. Crazy.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Because that's what we do with celebrities. They become mayors and governors in Minnesota.
California.
Big up Minnesota. Oh, yeah. But the answer is parents, step up. Step up. I know you want your kids to be independent thinkers, and I know you want your kids to express themselves and understand why they can or can't do something. But whatever parenting book you're reading, go to page 161, where there's certain things where they just have to just say yes. Yeah. Yes, I understand. And move on with life. If you're hurt, fine. But you can't do this, you can't do that. And because there are things that we expect our kids to be young adults about. Right. But they're also kids, they're way too young to understand consequences and long-term differences. Why? Because we as parents barely understand. By the skin of our teeth, as parents, we don't, we barely get it. There was no way we could expect a kid to get that and be an independent thinker. Right. You know, or right? We don't let kids drink till they're 21. Right. We don't let kids join the army until at least 18, right? And if we can help, we ain't letting them have no damn sex change at 14 or whatever. Whole other story. But what are you gonna say? I mean, there's just a certain foundation that has to get in there. Be better parents. Be better parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it takes energy. It takes a lot out of your heart. They're not going to like you on every day. They're not your friend. They have to. But you get to a certain point when you have laid that foundation, and I know this
intimately in my own life.
Yes.
You have fostered a relationship that helped them feel safe and secure and that they can trust you.
Right.
Even when they don't like you.
Yep.
You can say stuff, and I say that to my kids all the time. I'm like, you might not like me, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Right.
You don't get to be their friend all the time.
Yeah.
And
so does that lead to the question, how do we be better parents to this? Parents, if you're listening out there, don't get caught in the false dichotomy of, I'm either your parent or your friend. I'm one or the other. That's bullshit.
No, agreed.
Some parents, they're neither, right? I've never even met my father. My real father, I never even met him. Stepfather, a real G. But don't get caught up in false dichotomies.
Yeah.
You're this or this, because sometimes the kid's both and sometimes the kid's neither.
Right.
Sometimes, like Kelly and my wife and my kid Braxton, they're the best of friends.
Yeah.
They're like two peas in the. Sometimes I videotape them, or I take pictures of them just sitting together playing cards. They don't even care about them. I'm like, hey, I'm here. So Kelly found a way to be a parent and a friend. She found a way to be both. I just found that I right now have only found a way to be a parent with that girl. Because you have to understand the balance of parents, of being I don't know if you call it good cop, bad cop, but just
it's
knowing where the respect.
It's different in every relationship.
No, because you have to respect your parents differently.
Kid. Yeah, you're going to have different personalities in every kid, but it is for sure what you're providing on some level is presence, patience, safety.
Right.
These are the things kids, and Braxton's what? She's 7 now?
6.
6.
She's huge.
Yeah, I'm sure she is.
thought she's 10,
another
right?
athlete in the making for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong room to be talking about raising athletes. I'll tell you that. No. You're just popping them out.
I mean,
you could have done that for a career, right? You're 4 for 4 right now. People should just be like,
my kids
Wendy,
are so
I'll
different.
give you $1.5 million to impregnate you, because right now you're just, they're all growing up to be like that.
Well,
and you're just like, everybody get away.
I am so not worried about what they're doing in sports, and so much more care so much about how they become.
We're also privileged to be in a certain environment where it's easily more manageable, which is going back to the parenting thing, right?
Well, yeah.
As you know, I'm a volleyball coach, right?
Yeah.
Long time NCAA, but found my home in club, which is where
athletes.
is where you get to do some real work.
Yeah.
Coaches out there, guys, if you want to affect change at the collegiate level, be an assistant. Don't be a head coach. That is some gangster stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, if a kid's coming from beach practice, and their parents haven't shown up, and they're waiting for their parents at Starbucks, and I see them at Starbucks in Hermosa, they're okay.
Right.
And if I'm really worried, I'll be like, hey, like if I'm nearby, like, hey, I'm at American Junkie with my wife and kid. If your mom's taking too long and this is not where you want to be, come wait with us, wait with our parents there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the South Bay. Enter New York City. Now, I'm not even talking about Flatbush. I was coaching on the Upper East Side, Hunter High School. If there's a kid waiting at Starbucks with his parent, for his parents to come, I'm waiting with them until their parents show up.
Yeah.
And mind you, the Upper East Side is not an unsafe neighborhood. There's just, when you have so many millions of people, you got millionaires living on top of each other. Right. When there's so many moving parts, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And the urban jungle creature in you says, that's my son. You're not, you're his coach, right? You're not his dad. But you're like, no, that kid's not waiting for his mom by himself. We're in the South Bay.
Yeah.
You got 11-year-olds running in traffic right now.
It feels like it feels like a little village down there. Like nothing bad can happen, but bad stuff is happening.
It's a goddamn Paw Patrol at Starbucks right now.
Well, and what you're showing though is like the problems at the top. You can talk about your most affluent communities and the problems in your least affluent communities, and there's a safety in both of those that's missing. Okay,
yes.
Like that. Somebody cares about your development and is not in a self-serving way. Not as a parent, like on one end you have survival and security and you're two parents or one parent just working to put food on the table. And up here, you're talking about so much entitlement that people don't have any sense of purpose. They don't understand what it is to like climb the ladder.
And how do you think that's shaped? You think the kids manifest that on their own?
No, it's what they're modeled. What's
kids
modeled
out
in
there.
their home.
Kids out there, you don't need a shrink. Your parents do. If your parents know how to, look, as a parent, and you'll be the first one to say it, nothing prepares you for it.
Right.
You can read as many books as you want. Nothing really prepares you for it because you're not.
And you better learn
you
how
as a
to
parent are
trust
not a
your
machine,
gut.
and there are people, and your kids certainly aren't machines.
You better learn how to trust your gut.
But with that being said, if you're having problems, don't send your kid to the shrink. That's lazy. And it's willful. At this point in our life, in the information age, it's willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Ignorant, I can forget.
Yeah,
Stupidity,
as the parent,
I can't.
I highly suggest it.
Kids,
Therapy, I'm a huge
do not
proponent
send
of
your
therapy.
kids to the shrink. Send yourself to the shrink before it's too late, where you have to send your kid to the shrink.
All right. Well,
The kid will be a certain age where it's already, because there are different levels of growth from a toddler to a kid, from a kid to a teen,
right.
from a teen to a young adult, from a young adult to a full adult.
And we're confusing that every which way is Sunday these days. Like, we're putting stuff on kids that shouldn't be put on kids. We're not giving them responsibilities that they should have. Like, we're all kinds of confused on
the whole conversation about, because we've had private conversations off the record about kids that want to get like a sex change or stuff like that.
Right.
I never thought as a parent, and the way my parents raised me, which not the best parents in the world, but the way parents raise each other, you never thought that conversation would even be a conversation, because a normal parent, a normal functioning parent should be like, you are not old enough to make that decision.
Right.
It should be that simple. Not I'm a transphobic, not I'm a gay bigot, not you're straight or you're going to hell. No. The general blanket of your psyche and your psychological growth, physical as well. I mean, but I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about from the neck up. You are not old enough to make that decision.
You know, I'm with you on that.
You are not old enough.
Yeah, just let.
You know what's said on the news? The trouble with kids getting a sex change. What's not being on the news are the people that are trying to get it back, that are trying to reverse that. Because that's not what's in the news right now.
Yeah. And where are you going to find that information?
You're not
not on mainstream.
Not on cable. No.
Right.
But do you understand where this conversation's come full circle back to censorship? But I'm warning you, because I don't know if you knew this before. It's coming from independent journalists, and it's coming from people who still identify with their party's politics, same sex. Like again, Jimmy Dore, Russell Brand, another guy considered right wing. No, the guy, on his worst day, he's a closet libertarian.
Yeah.
Because he's like, everyone do whatever they want and everyone mind their own business.
Right.
When you're 18 years old.
Right. I mean, seriously. Yeah. Usually things can be simplified, but we are not doing that these days.
But how do we allow our kids to do that, or parents to allow their kids to do that, when we always give each other speeches about being a role model? You know, like Daron Forbes, who was my program director, who I worked for her. We had a huge falling out, but when you're that close to someone like that, we're family. It comes back, and she's still like a mom to me, you know? She had a huge problem with me cursing on my podcast and using profanity. And, some of her friends were like, well, he curses because he lacks the vocabulary. And I'm like, no, I curse because I have I have a big pair of balls between my legs to use the best term appropriate. Okay. Like, I'm not a truck driver. All right? I'm not a sailor, and I'm not Luke Skywalker from Two Live Crew. It's not like, every curse. No, if effed up is a better way to describe the word messed up, I'm going to say effed up. Okay. So her problem with me was, do you want your kid to do that? Because isn't that the same speech that when you want to give someone, a parent, a role model speech? Do you want your kid to do that? Do you want your kid to do that?
Have you seen?
My argument, keep that thought. No, but my argument is, I want my kid to do what I say and not say what I do. All right? Because there's a bunch of things I don't want my kid to do that I've already done. I don't want my kid to join the army. Right? Right. I don't want my kid to study acting. And I sure as hell, I will slide down a razor blade and land in an alcohol bath before I want my kid to coach volleyball. All right?
That's basically your life.
Or even play the
You're
sport.
Doing just fine.
But you understand what I'm saying? All these things are ingratiated in my life that save me and do me at the same time that I don't want my kid to do. So these people stop cross-correlating being a role model with with things that you think your kids should do that you think you're going to do. Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Look, Michael Jordan gambled,
Yeah.
smoked cigars,
Yeah.
but what he did away from that made people want to be like Mike.
Right.
So in that respect, he was a role model. LeBron James is the off-the-court GOAT. His philanthropy is well documented. And I'm gonna stop because you had a funny thought. I can't.
No, I was just gonna say, go watch the Ted Lasso clip of Brett Goldstein talking to his niece in the front seat about how he talks and she can't talk like that.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I mean, do you want your 14-year-old drinking alcohol?
No.
No, but.
But okay, but if I put him in Europe and you've been sitting around the dinner table and having a little glass of red wine, and it's not this taboo.
No.
Like people think, and people will try to put you in spaces where like you think this. No, like it's context. It's what else is going on. It's like all of these hard and fast rules, and I will always go back to Matthew McConaughey. My favorite quote is "conservative early, liberal late."
Yeah.
Like give them a foundation to build on, and then you can deal with all the shades of gray that come along. And guess what? No one's perfect, so you might as well just be real about it. And stop trying to put out some version of you that's perfect because it's exhausting.
Right.
And the faster you realize that, the better you're going to get along with people. You're going to cut people so much more slack. You're going to deal with life's challenges with a lot more grace. I mean, and you're going to understand where your story starts and someone else's begins.
How did we be so comfortable from being so lazy? Like you were talking about terms and labels, like I dress good, but like in New York, I talk like a gay person. People, I had so many people in nightclubs, are you gay? But I was clean shaven.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I dressed a little tighter because what people didn't know is I lost 65 pounds. So I was like Eddie Murphy from The Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
Everything's spandex, you know? So I would dress. But there was a label. It's called a metrosexual.
Yeah, so yeah, I do remember that label.
All the qualities of a gay guy, except they're straight. And that's a fun label. And it's a cool label because it's not generated from a place of laziness. That label took work. But like I just told you, people calling Rogan right wing or people calling this person right wing or this person left wing is lazy because if they looked beyond, they know it takes work to see if he really was.
Right. And
you could just call him this and be done with it.
And people are just way
homophobic.
Yeah, but
is a
people are
lazy
so much more
homophobic is a lazy term because in the classic sense of the word, it is fear and lack of understanding of someone because they're straight, or the inherent belief that one is superior or inferior based on their sex.
Right.
Those are good. Would you call those two pretty good definitions?
Yeah, I would. And but
my friend Ren said he's not homophobic. He's just an asshole. Ren Osborne has a T-shirt.
One of the best conversations.
Ren Osborne says, he's not homophobic. He's not scared of me. I'm not, he's not scared. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. One of the best conversations I ever had.
Yeah.
That was
Ren also said, like, just because I'm gay and you're straight doesn't mean I want you. Have you looked in the mirror? Gay means I like men, not that I like you. Get over yourself. So, that's the kind of guy Ren is.
Yeah.
Have him here, boy.
Oh, Woo. That'd be a great conversation. Yeah. But I just like real people.
Yeah.
I like real people who aren't afraid to say what they mean. And the older I get, the more I'm doing it, and it is so freeing.
Yeah.
So if you have a question, ask it. Don't go talk to somebody else. Don't go talk about, me or you to someone else, third party on some other street. If you got a question, come ask me. I've said that on your show before. Yeah. And I have so much respect for people that will look you in the eye and ask you the question because you'll get an honest answer.
Yeah.
I
so many great moments on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I'll go the volleyball route. I asked Tom Sorensen, what does Marv Dunphy mean to you? And there's this high emotionally moment. He started crying, and
I believe
it's
it.
like a father figure. He's in the Hall of Fame, by the way, right now.
Oh.
Tom Sorensen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I just found out he lives in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I had a moment where I talked to you about that dream I had about no one caring about the baby, right? Mm-hmm. And just how, we get to a point where you're bullied or you're beaten to death where you just surrender. Like if you're drowning and someone tries to rescue you, you're like, nah, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna stop myself because I'll start crying again when I start talking about that dream I had. It was
but Jay, dreams are so prophetic, and it tells you so much about what's going on the inside. And I give you credit because I watch you every day. Like, be yourself unapologetically, and your show is popular because of that. And the way you helped me get started, like, Wendy, just come over here and do this, and I'll help you until you're ready to do your own.
Yeah. So mad. I was so mad at Facebook, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
At that time. You know why? Because at that time, I had more viewership than, as far as, it was started as a volleyball podcast, but if you look at the top volleyball podcast and the viewership, I had more than second, third, and fourth combined. The next 3 or 4 combined.
Yeah.
But then when they censored me, I'm like, okay, everyone just caught up. I'm still ahead.
Yeah.
You know, because I had maniacs. I had 1,000 maniacs.
Yeah.
Meaning that they weren't notifying them that the podcast is up.
But they were looking
checking.
for you. Yeah.
Maniacs.
Yeah.
Guys, educating everybody on something called through plays, right? There are some podcasts that some people run ads for to advertise it or to promote it. But through plays is a category that's when someone clicks on it and they watch the entire episode from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So my podcast right now, at one point average as high as 31% on through plays.
Yeah.
An average good podcast, like a really good podcast, is like 23%.
So good.
So I was at the height of it, I was 8 points above the average.
Yeah.
You know.
And your podcasts aren't short. Like you
got to pack a lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Trevor was the shortest one. Trevor Crabb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trevor was only 38 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Trevor left that. I guarantee you. Well, I'll catch up to him someday. I guarantee Trevor regretted something about that. I think Trevor came in as if it was an interview.
Okay.
And left and probably said, I could have had a conversation.
Understanding that it was a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is...
Because he's such a professional. You're meeting your media obligations.
Right.
You know, Aaron Wexler, gives you more floor time, and you're talking 80% of the time. Where me, I'm just like having a conversation. And I'm 90% sure that he left saying, "Man, I could have had a conversation."
Darn.
So, but I gave him an in. I was
gonna say, well, get him
I said
back.
Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
He's playing with Theo.
Yes, I've seen that.
And Theo's the guy I'm a fan of. Actually, the three male players, Baranek, Brunner.
Yes.
And Trevor. And 2 of them are on one team. So those are, like, I'm a purist. I don't follow the players. I follow the sport. I'm not a fanboy on the players, which is why some of them might hate me. But I don't care about Troy Field. Sorry, I don't care about you, Troy Field. I care about how you play. I care about the sport.
Yeah.
But there's certain people, they're so intriguing.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
And they're inviting in their own personality. They invite the fans to take some of that journey with them.
Yep.
Baranek is the best example.
He's
You take that journey with Eric. Eric draws that energy from the crowd. And this is not volleyball, guys. This is every sport. Drawing that energy from the crowd. And then when you win and everyone's still clapping you and that guy looks back at you like, I couldn't have done that without you. I don't know if maybe I could have, but I don't know if I could have done that without you.
Yeah.
Now, the best way we can inspire other people to do a podcast is just introduce topics at the common sense level that everyone can identify with.
Yeah.
Stop feeling like you have to be an expert to have an opinion on something.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion on something.
That's what cancel culture will do to you.
Cancel culture gave powers to the doctors and not the patients.
Yeah.
No, not even to the doctors, to people that made the doctors do that. Because when you grew up, look, if you had a knee problem, right? Let's say you're just jumping too much and you landed on one leg and there's only a little bit of cartilage there, right? One doctor will say, take this brace. Wear this brace for the rest of your life. Yeah. Right? But then there's another doctor that's doing like cadaver surgery. Yeah. Or some doctors like, I want to take some cartilage from another part of your bodies and take the remaining cartilage there, make that stronger and this and that.
Right.
They're both professionals.
Yeah.
And you made as the patient, you made the choice.
Right.
As the patient, you made the choice.
Right.
Where now it's like, if you don't listen to that doctor, you're not following the science.
Right.
So that's an example of, if you want to talk about this, have an expert on. No, because the expert's not going to ask the question that they know the answer to.
Right.
Wendy, are you a carnivore?
Yes.
Am I a carnivore?
Yes.
I think I'm on a carnivore diet, except
Yeah.
I'm so addicted to pasta.
You and Matthew.
I'm so neurologically addicted to pasta, but if I went
okay.
straight carnivore for a month like I did
Yes.
last year, I'll lose 7 pounds, 10 pounds, 17 in 2 months. But do you know how to make a steak?
Yes.
Are you a chef?
No.
You know what what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
There are certain subjects through your life experience that you can introduce, have an opinion on.
Right.
And then, but then if it gets too thick, you're like, you know what? Next episode, I think I want a chef on there.
Yeah.
Why? Well, I throw it on the grill one day and it's perfect, and then the last time it's black and it's red in the middle. I burned the hell out of it and it still wasn't cooked. Why? So maybe but if it gets to that level,
threatened by the expert, and don't be threatened by the messenger.
Don't be threatened by the person that has experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And learn what you can from everyone's got something to teach.
I've always had
so
debates.
open your ears and listen, and don't feel like you're less than because somebody knows more than you about something, because there's going to be something that you can teach them. So
Amen.
Just open up your mind, stay present, and stop feeling like everyone's attacking you, and you will rise, and everyone around you will rise with you. It's that human connection thing that we're missing.
Here's a great example. Avengers, Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
For anyone that watched Avengers, Loki is the god of mischief, offering Thanos. It was like this guy that wants to eliminate half the population. Finite resources. Get rid of half. Give him the chop.
Okay.
He said, if you're headed to Earth, I have a little bit of experience in that field.
Yeah.
And Thanos said, if you consider failure experience, and he says, I consider experience.
Yeah.
So that's the point I was trying to make. I was trying to stay away from volleyball, but I would have some arguments with Jeff Samuels or John Mayer, and even a little bit with Dane Blanton, like biomechanics and studies are showing this and this and that, and I'm like, in my experience, and with that person, coaching that person for 4 years, that ain't working for them, And I had to tell Dane, an Olympic gold medalist, someone because of course in this society you can't. If you're trying to tell him that, oh my God, this doesn't know what he's done. You know what he's done? I'm like, yeah, he's gotten the keys to the truck and he's won 2 championships with it. Okay, but he was a workhorse. Yeah. But I told Dane, and this is something Dane should know better, because with Eric, what he had to do had nothing to do with science.
Well, often
winning in Sydney. That was not science. Science said they should have lost. Science said they should have lost at the round of 16. Okay, so he should know better. When I tell you this. The scientists are the coaches. We were talking about coaching volleyball and how we're supposed to respond to how the body works and apply that science to our practice.
Okay.
And I said, never let that defy or supersede or trump who the real scientists are. It's us, Dane.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 22 years.
Yeah.
We've been experimenting with people of all sample sizes and see what we're literally in that. That's the lab.
Yep.
Those are the kids, the players. Those are the test tubes. That cannot be ignored and certainly not superseded.
Nor should it.
So he's like, so basically just throw crap to a wall and see what sticks. I said, yes.
And trust your intuition.
Throw crap to the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
What do you think science is? What do you think they're doing in the lab?
Yeah.
They're throwing crap on the wall and seeing what sticks, and they're writing notes, and through what they know and their expertise combined with the data, come up with scientific conclusions, not scientific facts, which is an oxymoron.
It's true.
Yeah.
God, we can cover every subject and everything that we didn't get to half the stuff, and we never do.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your candor and your research and the way that you go about life so much, and I'm so proud to call you my friend, because our stories are just the things that matter. They really are. They're the things that matter, and what you're doing with juniors players, raising your own kid, love Kelly, everything that you, just the passion you go after life with it's admirable. It's what the world needs. It's what people need to see. So I commend you for it. I thank you so much for coming today and having this conversation. I think we could probably do this every week. Maybe there's a show idea.
We should do like a 30-minute, like The Beat.
Yeah.
Or
I'm telling you.
You know.
We could.
Or
we'd have to discipline our process, Jay.
Yeah.
We would, but I'm
well,
so game.
we are
Yeah.
in the middle of that evolution, right? It's like
Absolutely.
every month
Yeah.
we have these new ideas, and we have
Yeah.
the studios now, and
Yeah.
the tech, and now we have good tech people, and
Right.
but our values stay the same,
Yeah.
you know, but our ability to understand evolves.
Yeah. So we got to make that end run.
Yeah.
We're looking to make the end run. So thank you for helping me do it.
Yep.
And
Follow the math, people, not the science.
Yeah.
Follow the math.
yeah. Thank you so much for coming today, Jay. You are the best example of my tagline, and it just be real, be you, and be better.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to What I Meant to Say. If you enjoyed this conversation, you know what to do. Subscribe, rate, review. And for more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to BeBetterMedia.tv. Some of these stories contain sensitive content about real-life events, and all of the information in this podcast and from anywhere on the Be Better Media website is for informational purposes only. If you find that you need help, which we all do from time to time, please reach out to a licensed professional